What ICE is doing is illegal. And that's not my opinion either. Those are facts. ICE right now is going out in a masked, untrained group to roam the streets of Minnesota and other streets in this country, across various states within this country, and taking the lives of American citizens, abducting people without due process, sending them off to places in which they were not originally from. What's happening right now in this country is illegal, depraved, inhumane, and unacceptable. We just recently had another masked agent take the life of a U.S. citizen in the streets of Minnesota. This individual was a nurse. This person was protecting other people, protecting a woman in the street. And understand something. Right now, Pam Bondi has just been found to have reached out to Minnesota officials stating that the DOJ makes a request of Minnesota to turn over their voter rolls if they hope for ICE to be removed from their streets. How is that democracy? How is that not authoritarianism? How is this not dictatorship in practice, in effect, in our streets? The fact that there are stipulations placed on removing untrained, masked agents from the streets of America, and those stipulations that are placed on removing those agents are in an attempt to rig a future election, in an attempt to undermine the democratic processes of a future election. They're asking for voter rolls, specifically from states in which they know their policies, this administration's policies, are widely unpopular. They're asking for things that they do not have the legal authority to ask for and have access to. Your data, your privacy, your information, things that are protected, or at least they should be protected. But let's take a step back for a moment and look at the way in which ICE is functioning, the agency itself functioning as an entity, rather descendant of the same practices of slave catchers. And see, the reason I compare them to slave catchers specifically in the context of American history and not to the Gestapo in the context of German history is because people need to understand and grasp how homegrown this threat is, how homegrown this issue is. We have moments in our history where we can look to and understand exactly what's going on right now. Asking people for their papers, their documentation, ripping people out of their vehicles, approaching people to interrogate and abduct them based on the color of their skin or the accent in which they speak. We have seen this before. We know this story. We know what this is. I just recently heard another story about a 5-year-old who was taken out of school, who was used as bait to lure his parents and family members out of their homes, who was then shipped off to a facility here in Texas. Do you see what's happening? Do you understand the gravity and weight and magnitude of what's transpiring and occurring right now in our country? Because I don't think people really get it. And it's not a left and right thing. It's not a partisan thing. It's not a partisan issue. Understand that what's occurring in this nation right now is the degradation of our civil liberties, the degradation of our humanity, the degradation of our democracy, by no stretch of the word. No exaggeration, no hyperbole. We are watching our democracy degrade before our very eyes. We are watching these things unfold in front of us as if we answer to a king, but we don't, and we will not. There are no kings in America. But let me not just give you my opinion about it. I don't want to bloviate to you. I want to give you actual facts, evidence, and resources that you can use for yourself to come to the same conclusion that many of us have already come to. We have a problem in this nation, a problem in this country. Renee Good, a mother, a wife, was driving away from ICE agents, unarmed, driving away. There's existing precedent from the Supreme Court case in 1985, Tennessee v. Garner. What that ICE agent did was illegal under that precedent alone, not to mention the DOJ's own policies regarding how to handle encounters with vehicles, as well as the use of force as it pertains to encounters with people in vehicles. Alex Jeffrey Preddy, the man who was just killed in Minnesota today, he was an ICU nurse. And just like Renee Good, he was also a U.S. citizen. He was killed by untrained officers. Evidence to their lack of training, the fact that they shot him after already taking his weapon that he had a license to carry. After already taking his weapon, he was no longer a threat to them. There were a dozen ICE agents already holding him down, pinning him down, pistol whipping him, kicking him, beating him, punching him in the face. You can watch the video on your own if you do not want to take my word for it. And after that, what they chose to do, what they decided to do, was shoot him to death. And upon doing that, they then ran away. In the video, you see ICE agents fleeing while others applaud in exuberance, in celebration at taking this man's life. They're untrained. A trained agent would have rendered care after discharging their weapon. A trained agent would have checked a pulse after discharging their weapon. A trained agent would not have discharged their weapon on an unarmed individual that was already subdued. These are the facts. It's not my opinion. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you may find yourself on. These are the facts. And because of these facts, we are able to draw the conclusion that I mentioned before: America has a problem. Because of these facts, we are able to come to the same conclusion that I mentioned before: America has a problem. And because of these facts, we know that these agents are acting unlawfully, they are untrained, and they believe that they are above the law and will not be held accountable for any of their atrocious actions against the people in this country. But that's where we come in, as the people. That's where we come in, to advocate against what's going on right now and fight for what's right. What they did in Minnesota with that general strike, powerful. In -degree weather, wind chills in -degrees degrees, and still showed up to protest. General strike, businesses closed, schools shut down. That's how we come together and fight against what's going on right now. Telling the truth, informing people of what's going on, what's happening, that's how we fight against this.